Hi, I'm Daniel Wong, and today we're going to be testing out some new cards with experimental blue-red turns. So at its core, this is still a blue-red taking turns deck, so we still got our draw engine of Howling Mine, Dictate of Kruphix, and Jace the Mind Sculptor to help us draw extra cards each turn, and we've got 8 extra turn effects to help us abuse that draw engine. 4 Time Warp, 1 Part the Waterveil, 2 Temporal Mastery, and 1 Nexus of Fate. We'll get back to that in just a sec. Then we have 6 pseudo extra turn effects in 3 Exhaustions and 3 Gigadrowse. We still have our suite of miscellaneous spells. A bunch of Serum Visions helps smooth out our draws. Lightning Bolt is just great interaction. Snapcaster Mage is pretty flexible and provides a 2-1 body that we can use to win the game. Cryptic Command also very flexible. And the cards we're testing out today are Mission Briefing, Blood Moon, and Nexus of Fate. So Mission Briefing and Snapcaster Mage fill pretty similar roles, except with Mission Briefing, we're trading that 2-1 body for Surveil 2. So Mission Briefing doesn't actually help us win the game like Snapcaster Mage does, but the Surveil 2 can potentially put in a key card in the graveyard, like a Lightning Bolt or a Time Warp that we really need but don't have, so that we can continue going off or just kill a creature that we really need to kill or something cool like that. Main deck Blood Moon is just potentially very powerful. So to support it, we've increased our basic land count to 8. We still have our 5 fetch lands that can fetch basics if we need them to. We'll see exactly how strong that is. And finally, we have Nexus of Fate. So Nexus of Fate is pretty interesting. It's really expensive, just like Temporal Mastery at 7 mana, but it's an instant, which means you can pressure your control opponents a little bit more by casting Nexus of Fate at their end step. If they counter it, that's fine. You get to untap and then try again. And if they don't counter it, you get 2 extra turns in a row. Also, the Shuffle clause on Nexus of Fate means that as we're going off, the density of Time Warp effects in our deck is higher than it would otherwise be because we keep shuffling Nexus of Fate back in every time we cast it. And we do get to pretty small numbers of cards, usually like 30, 20, whatever. So those numbers do matter. All right, over in the sideboard, we've got another experiment in Madcap Experiment and Platinum Emperion. So Madcap Experiment says, reveal cards from your library until you reveal an artifact. Put the artifact on the battlefield, then Madcap Experiment deals a bunch of damage to you. So when we bring in the Madcap Experiment package with Platinum Emperion, we take out Howling Mine so that the only artifact in our deck is Platinum Emperion, which says your life total can't change. And that way, when Madcap Experiment tries to deal you a bunch of damage, that damage just doesn't do anything. One important non-bo to be aware of is that when you have a Platinum Emperion on the battlefield, you cannot pay life to activate fetch lands, which means we're going to want to activate those before we cast our Madcap Experiment. For the rest of the sideboard, we've still got a Thing in the Ice, which I think one might be a little bit too few, but we'll see. We've got a Gelectrode. We've got a bunch of removal spells in Abrade and Anger of the Gods. We've got Commandeer. Unfortunately, we had to take it out of the main, and there's only one in the sideboard. And Surgical Extraction for Graveyard Hate. So I've never tried running the Platinum Emperion Madcap Experiment Platinum Emperion sideboard package. I've never tried running Mission Briefing or Blood Moon, and I've never tried out Nexus of Fate. So we'll get to see how it goes together. I'll see you in round 1. Okay, here we are for round 1. We've lost the die roll. Our hand does not have enough colored mana sources in it, also known as 0. This would otherwise be looking pretty decent. Bolt is pretty good. Serum Visions would set up our draws. If this was a blue-red land, I think I would probably keep. But as it stands, we can't keep. Our opponent also mulliganed. This hand looks better. It'd be good if Blood Moon was good, but we don't necessarily know if it's good in this matchup or not. I think this is still a keep. Jace, we're a little bit too far away from casting. We only have 2 lands, and we really need to hit land drops. On the other hand, this Blood Moon could slow our opponent down quite a bit, and Jace could be our way to break a Blood Moon stall. I think we need the lands too badly. I'm going to put Jace on the bottom. It would also be nice to find some interaction if it's good. Something like a Lightning Bolt would be nice to kill a creature with. Ooh. It looks like our opponent is probably on Grishoalbrand. So we don't have very much interaction here. I don't think our life total is terribly important, so I'm just gonna fetch Shock here, and then Serum Visions. There's an argument for holding this so that we can potentially get more basic islands, since our plan is to cast this Blood Moon anyway. But, oh yeah, that probably would have been a good idea, apparently. Keep the Scalding Tarn so we can fetch a basic and put the Sulfur Falls to the bottom. So our plan for winning this game is to stick this Blood Moon, hope that the opponent only has non-basics, and hope we never get Goryoo's Vengeance did. I think that's the past tense of Goryoo's Vengeance. Alright, this plan is not coming together very well. I don't think we have many ways to combat this main board if our opponent just discards a Grishoalbrand here. In particular, if our opponent discards a Grishoalbrand and then goes Exile Simian Spirit Guide and Goryoo's Vengeance, then I think we just lose on the spot. But what can you do? Opponent's taking a while, so that's probably not happening. In that case, if we do live this turn, I think we're just going to Gigadrowse next turn so that we buy ourselves some more time of not dying. Or maybe not. Let's see. That is a Grishoalbrand in the yard. Our opponent's probably just short on mana. So Gigadrowsing actually isn't good here because Goryoo's Vengeance is an instant. It means that our opponent can just cast Goryoo's Vengeance in response to the Gigadrowse, and then things go poorly for us. Interesting. Discovery, binning through the breach, and Discovery Dispersal. Let's make this bigger, I guess. So this Blood Moon really isn't doing all that much. I'm not sure if our opponent didn't go for it last turn because they didn't have it, and they were looking for it with that Discovery Dispersal, or because they were afraid of a counterspell. As it stands, I think if this game goes on very long, we're going to lose. So I want to establish a clock by casting Snapcaster Mage. It's not much of a clock, but it's more than nothing. We're also out of lands, so casting that Serum Visions, I think, is pretty reasonable. Obviously, this is a sign that our opponent can just go for it. And also it's a sign that this Blood Moon would be way better as a Commandeer, where we would be able to counter a Goryoo's Vengeance by just taking control of it. But it's too late now. Let's see, this Lightning Bolt doesn't seem like it's doing anything. We are going to need lands to win the game eventually. Alright, we have no interaction, so let's just hope we don't die. Yeah, and the reason that Blood Moon isn't really doing much is because our opponent's basic swamp means they can just cast a Goryoo's Vengeance and then do their Goryoo's Vengeance thing. Interesting, Steam Vents. I guess that's to cast Discovery Dispersal. So this is just a flashback to Faithless Looting. Alright, so you're saying there's a chance. I think next turn we're going to Exhaustion and Lightning Bolt. Exhaustion seems pretty decent. Alright, so how in the world does Discovery Dispersal work? The other side of it. Non-link, I don't think I would mind our opponent casting that side of the card. Yeah, this Blood Moon looking pretty bad. So if we draw a land, we can... Oh, okay. That works. I think I'm going to hold the Snapcaster because snap bolting could be better than just casting the Snapcaster to get in for an attack. We also might snap Exhaustion. Didn't quite think about the time warp. So one thing that's nice about our opponent being at 10 or less life is that if they go to draw with Grishoalbrand, we have Snap Bolt, and then they die, which is pretty cool. So at end of turn, if we Snap Bolt, the opponent goes to 5, and then we're 1 shy of killing them with Oh, I could have Snap Exhaustioned. The reason to not do that is that the opponent had an untapped land, which means untapped land, Goryo's Vengeance still basically kills us, and I'd like to leave that Snapcaster Bolt up. Opponent has a lot of basics. Okay, so if we Snap Bolt now... Opponent goes to 5, and they have 3 cards in hand. Then we attack. If we draw a land, we part the Waterveil for lethal. I like land being lethal. Let's see, if the opponent has Shoal and Worm, that's not great for us, but I don't think we can really do too much about that. So it looks like the only relevant cards in our opponent's graveyard are that Grishoalbrand and that Faithless Looting. It's interesting that our opponent didn't cast Faithless Looting. I guess they're a little bit low on cards in hand. All right, let's see if our opponent has a Grishoalbrand, because if they do, we are going to need to Gigadrowse it so that they don't gain 7. Interesting. So like I said, we are going to need to Gigadrowse this so they don't gain 7. Let's not replicate. Let's see, I guess we might as well Blood Moon. Doesn't really do much besides cut our opponent off of blue, and it really doesn't do much. I'm gonna cast it anyway. We didn't come here to not cast Blood Moon. Alright, well, opponent at 1. I guess we still die to, like, Goryo's Vengeance, get back Grishoalbrand, attack us. Okay, that's not quite it. Yeah, attack us, opponent goes to 8, opponent uses Grishoalbrand, draws the Worm and the Shoal, and then goes off from there. So we could still die, but I think we're doing okay. It's kind of surprising to me that the opponent didn't go for Through the Breach on their own turn. I guess they were afraid of a counterspell. Alright, well, opponent's out of cards in hand, so that's cool. Exhaustion, not really doing much. Let's see. So I'm going to use this part the Waterveil, and the reason is if we draw another extra turn spell, we just win. So the opponent's at 8 now. We're going to take another turn. We're going to hit them down to 4, and then if we can take one more turn after that, then they go to dead. Neat. I guess we don't need this for now. Okay, how do we sideboard here? Commandeer is nice as a counterspell. Blood Moon seems like it's not doing much. We're bringing in the Madcap Experiment package. Don't know if our opponent will have Artifact Destruction or not, but we're here to experiment. Let's give it a shot. So if we're bringing this package in, we need to bring Howling Mine out. What else makes sense here? Lightning Bolt isn't great. It doesn't actually kill anything, but it does hit the opponent's life total. I don't know if that's worth just hitting the life total. I think Thing in the Ice is probably pretty good. Oh, obviously Surgical Extraction is pretty good. But what is bad? I think we can go a little bit lighter on the Time Warp plan, since we're a little bit more on the Madcap Experiment plan. So maybe we want to decrease the curve a little bit. One more cut. This Gigadrowse didn't feel great. Actually, because our opponent can play so much at instant speed, I think the Gigadrowses and Exhaustions are pretty bad. They can play so many hasty things. I think I'm going to cut 2 Exhaustions before I cut the first Time Warp. Alright, let's double check I'm not missing anything. Counterspell, Madcap package, Thing in the Ice, Surgical. Don't think we need these. Howling Mine's coming out, Blood Moon's coming out, Bolt's not great, 1 Dictate's coming out, part, 2 Exhaustions. Yeah, looks good to me. Okay, sideboard game, we are on the draw. Let's see how this goes. It's really nice starting game 2 on the draw, because that means you won game 1. I think I would keep this hand against slow opponents, because that would give us time to draw lands into Dictate, into Time Warp, but against a Grishoalbrand opponent, I think we need to interact faster than this. Also, more lands would be nice. This doesn't really do that much. We could try to mulligan to Surgical Extraction, but we only have 2. I don't really think that's worth it. I think it would be better to just try to draw Surgical. Interestingly, we can also Mission Briefing and get 2 more shots at a Surgical. Snapcaster isn't doing anything. I guess it would be pretty bad for us if our opponent Faithless Lootings this turn, which it looks like they're doing, and then ditches a Grishoalbrand, and then can reanimate it next turn before we have Mission Briefing on Leyline. Interesting. I guess that makes Mission Briefing pretty bad. I think we're just gonna fetch a tap shock land. Not like we have any interaction right now anyway. What did they just cast? Collective Brutality. Ooh, that's collectively brutal. If I had to guess, I would say they're taking mission briefing, but we'll see. Okay. I think our opponent doesn't see the line of get surgical extraction into the graveyard with mission briefing. Because I feel like that's one of the few ways we can be in this game. Yeah, this Gigadrowse is not looking very good. Maybe I cut Gigadrowses before bolts? All right. All according to plan, let's flip that surgical extraction. That is not it, is it? I don't really want to show the opponent Madcap Experiment, so I'm just going to put that on top, but then put Cryptic in the yard, because we are extremely likely to be dead here. Alright, good thing we can cast this Cryptic Command. We'll let the opponent go for it. I guess I shouldn't F6 in case the opponent does something that would view our library, if they like surgical extraction or something like that. In terms of sideboarding, this Gigadrowse and this Exhaustion are looking pretty freaking terrible. So I think I might take out some of those for bolts, given that the opponent does end up spending a lot of life on Grishoalbrand. Okay, if this is something that looks at our library, I'm conceding this game. Okay. Oh, that was cool. Our opponent spliced a Desperate Ritual onto this Nourishing Shoal. So they still have Desperate Ritual in hand and also 3 red mana. This deck does weird things. I'm sure this was the intended use case of Splice. Our opponent has 14 cards remaining in their library. If they can't kill us, I think something went really wrong. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, the fact that our opponent has this Leyline of the Void is making me want to at least trim 1 mission briefing. Because mission briefing really doesn't do anything besides scry 2 when your opponent has this. We did come here to play mission briefing, so I don't think I'm going to cut them both, but I don't really think I want to be playing that card against Leyline of the Void. I wonder what's taking our opponent so long. This is another Splice Desperate Ritual onto Nourishing Shoal, which is pretty cool. So they still have that Desperate Ritual in their hand. Huh. If our opponent draws 7 again, they're going to have 0 cards left. They're going to just have their entire deck in their hand. Alright. This looks like a Through the Breach for What's-His-Face, and we're going to get a lot of lands thrown at us. Alright, neat. Okay, so Lightning Bolt, not great, but coming in. And what's coming out? 1 mission briefing. This Gigadrowse ever good? I guess it means if we tap Grishoalbrand, our opponent draws one fewer card. I think Exhaustion is almost never good. So let's do that. Yes, we will go first. Let's try to draw Surgical Extraction. What's wrong with my computer? All right. Well, this hand is certainly not great. The other thing that Madcap Experiment actually doesn't do here, now that I'm thinking about it more, is it doesn't actually prevent us from losing the game, because our opponent will go off and put, gosh, I forgot the name of it, the Borborygmos Enraged into play and have so many lands that they'll be able to throw a bunch of lands at Platinum Emperion and then throw a bunch of lands at our face. So even if we cast Madcap Experiment, we don't actually win. I think we need to look for Surgical or something. This hand is not good. All right, well, there's Surgical or something. And I do think we want to Serum Visions because now we want lands. So we're going to Serum Visions, draw that Serum Visions. It's a good thing we cut a mission briefing. Serum Visions, draw that Serum Visions, scry any spells to the bottom. Spells to the bottom. Now we get 2 more shots at a land. Of course, we're going to need a lot of lands for this hand to, you know, do anything, but we'll get there. Maybe I shouldn't F6. Our opponent could theoretically kill us on turn 1. Okay, yeah, Seaman Spirit Guide. This is bad juju. Interesting. Turn 1 Manamorphose. Does this just become Collective Brutality? Night's Whisper. Okay. That's very interesting. All right. Let's try to hit a land. That's not a land. Yeah, we need to bottom both of these. All right, well, the good news is we still have this Surgical Extraction for as long as our opponent doesn't look at our hand. Ooh, I hope this is not Collective Brutality. Okay. Okay. I wonder how strong Discovery Dispersal is in this deck, because it does seem kind of like what the deck wants to do. Surveilling is much, much more powerful than Scry in that deck. All right, Nexus of Fate. Perfect. Okay, is this even good? If we Temporal Mastery, can't even do anything on the extra turn, so that sucks. All right, well, we need lands. I wonder how good Discovery Dispersal is in other decks. Grishoalbrand in particular seems like it takes, let's expand this, it takes huge advantage of Surveil just because it uses the graveyard as such an important resource. I think I'm going to cast Snapcaster Mage since with that leyline, it's literally just an Ambush Viper. Opponent has a lot of cards in hand. Our opponent could also pretty easily through the breach us, which kind of sucks. All right, Gorgeous Vengeance. We can beat that. I guess one thing that I didn't note in the deck tech is bringing in Surgical Extraction and Platinum Emperion is a little bit weird. Ooh. That sucks. Well, that leyline did a lot. I'm just going to cast this and then F6 and see what the opponent can do. We're very likely to be dead here, but whatever. I guess if the opponent didn't have that leyline, then Snapcaster Mage for Surgical means we get to kill them with their own pact, which is kind of funny. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. Alright, if our opponent can't kill us with 14 more cards, something is pretty wrong. Oh, maybe our opponent is afraid of Lightning Bolt. Guess that would be pretty good if our opponent spent another 7 and then we bolt them, but I think they know that we F6'd, so there's not really a reason to be afraid. There's all the Spirit Guides. I don't think there's a way for our opponent to lose this. Oh. Did they splice? Splices through the... Yeah. Alright, I think we're just dead. We'll let them throw 3 lands at us. 4 lands at us, sorry. Math is hard. Maybe they're actually just a 4-land deck. Why did they stop? Oh. Show us one more land. We're just getting slow rolled for no reason. Alright, there it is. Well, that was unfortunate, but I'll see you for the next match. Alright, here we are in match number 2. We've lost the die roll once again. This hand looks alright. We've got 3 lands, a Dictate, a Mikokoro, and obviously Temporal Mastery right in our opening hand where it belongs. This hand isn't very interactive, but I think it's better than 6. Gigadrowse could slow the opponent down, and based on the fact that they're on, it looks like either spirits or humans, probably, we are going to want to spend the first couple turns delaying our opponent. Noble Hierarch could still be anything. What is wrong with my computer? All right. Like I said, we're just going to spend the first couple turns delaying the opponent, so I'm just going to tap the Noble Hierarch. This feels bad, but we need the opponent to not develop their board. So this is how we stop them from developing their board. It'd be cool if our opponent kept a 1-land Hierarch hand. I see. I thought they kept a 1-land hand because leading on Canopy into Hierarch is kind of weird, but if they're spirits and they wanted to name Spirit with their Cavern, that makes a lot more sense. Okay. I think I'm just going to upkeep Gigadrowse them again, hitting Hierarch and Cavern. We can afford to take some damage. We, again, just don't want them to develop the board. We'll be taking 3 going down to 17. Why is my computer lagging so much? Might be time to restart Moto soon. So our opponent could have potentially Spell Quellered there, but that's not a particularly impressive Spell Queller. Okay, so it looks like we're actually taking 4. Now I think we just need to cast Dictates and get very, very lucky draws. We could try to play around a Collected Company or a Spell Queller by casting a Dictate now, but that would give the opponent an extra card, and I don't think that's worth it. Alright, this is almost certainly either a Spell Queller or a Collected Company, but we can't just sit around taking 4 damage a turn. Let's see which one it is. It'd be really nice if it was Collected Company into 0 creatures or like 1 Hierarch. Our poor spell, it got quelled. Yeah, this is... that's not good. Alright, I'm just going to set an upkeep stop so that we can dictate. This is basically only bad if we miracle Temporal Mastery, of which there's only 1 left. Alright, and obviously our draws are excellent. Yeah, we need a whole lot to go right if we can win this game. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're looking at 7 damage right now. Oh no. I'm going to pause this recording and stop Moto. Restart Moto, rather. Or maybe I don't need to. Well, this is part of things going right. The opponent needs to not have Mausoleum Wanderer. And they also need to not have enough lords to kill us, which I'm not sure exactly how many lords that is. Obviously, Collected Company into Mausoleum Wanderer is basically just the same thing. Would make us lose the game. Okay, so we're looking at 7 plus 3, 10 damage here. 1 more lord would get us. Alright, barely hanging on at 2. So Exhaustion isn't good enough. Mission Briefing doesn't do anything here. We're we're 1 mana shy of Temporal Mastery, 1 mana shy of Mission Briefing, Time Warp. Yeah, that was nice. I'm going to play the Cascade Bluffs because I think we might need a lot of blue lands, in particular if we're going Mission Briefing into Gigadrowse or something. I also want to not play this fetch land for as long as possible just because our life total is so low. Alright, well we have our way to win the game. It's going to be parting the Waterveil in a couple turns. So this turn I'm going to Temporal Mastery. I smell a Spell Queller, which means we'll be able to Mission Briefing. That gets Spell Quelled, and oh wait, no, opponent has Lords. I was going to say we bolt the Spell Queller, but that won't quite work the way I want it to, will it? Hmm. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, new plan. We can play the Mission Briefing, it gets Spell Quelled, and then we part the Waterveil. Yeah, I think that's the new plan, and then after that we double bolt the oh no, opponent has Selfless Spirit. There's just no way to win. Alright, well in any case, this turn has to start with Mission Briefing. I think I'm going to crack this fetch first so that in the off chance that Mission Briefing does resolve, we will get to keep the Surveil. The Surveil card stays on top, rather. Yeah, this spell getting nice and quelled. So interestingly, our opponent is going to 14. We've got 2 bolts. So 6 damage brings them to a virtual 8. I think we're going to need to use these bolts on Spell Quellers, though. Well, I guess we first hit Selfless Spirit, and then we draw another bolt and double bolt a Spell Queller. Yeah. Alright. We've got to keep taking turns, so... I guess at the first opportunity then we should bolt that Spell Queller or bolt that Selfless Spirit, or we could just die. Also an option. Exhaustion isn't good enough because we die to these things. So what I'm going to do is we have Cryptic in hand, so we can use it as a fog, and I'm going to do that at our opponent's upkeep because then we're least likely to get Spell Quelled because our opponent will have 2 fewer cards relative to doing it at the beginning of combat. That also leaves us with enough mana to Dictate, which is really nice. So I think I'm going to bottom the Exhaustion because our opponent is extremely likely to play another creature off of their mana, and then the Exhaustion again won't do anything. Alright, so Steam Events, the only way we can play it, tapped. And then we've got our opponent's upkeep stop set. Alright, so we want tap all creatures and draw a card. Alright, this Collected Company is pretty likely to hit a Spell Queller because our opponent also has 4 Phantasmal Images it can hit. However, if it hits a Phantasmal Image, we get to... Oh, no. Well, that's a disaster. Let's see. So Mausoleum Wanderer is going to prevent us from resolving the Cryptic Command after we hit this fake Spell Queller with a Lightning Bolt. So what we have to do is, in response to the Mausoleum Wanderer, bolt it and hope the opponent doesn't sack Selfless Spirit. The Mausoleum Wanderer will be gone. We let this Spell Queller eat the Cryptic Command, and then we bolt it so that we get the Cryptic Command back. That's the plan. All right, let it happen, let it happen, let it happen. Bummer. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and concede this game. I'm going to restart Magic Online and then sideboard. All right, well, Magic Online has been restarted and is still not very happy. There we go. Okay. So spirits, we're going to bring in Thing in the Ice. We're going to bring in our Madcap Experiment package, which means Howling Mine is coming out. We're going to take out Blood Moon because it's pretty bad against a Aether Vial Noble Hierarch deck. Let's keep bringing in stuff first, though. Oops, didn't mean to get that surgical. All right, so Gelectrode kills things, Abrade kills things, Anger kills things. That sounds like what we want to be doing. I feel like our opponent is going to board and rest in peace, so we're going to trim one of those. We are no longer on a dictate or take a lot of extra turns plan. Yeah, sorry, Nexus of Fate. I don't think you're going to make the cut in this one. All right, Jace looks a lot worse when our opponent has a lot of creatures that can kill him. We can afford to trim, I think, one land. No, we're trying to hit 4 for Madcap Experiment now. We shouldn't be trimming lands. Those exhaustions were looking pretty awful. I think Gigadrowse I'm going to keep in, even though it's bad against... Sorry, mission briefing. Even though it's bad against Drogskull Captain, because all of the creatures become hexproof, I'm going to keep it in because it's good against Phantasmal Image. Alright, not 100% sure about this, but let's try it out. Guess we're just replacing one experiment with another, really. Taking out the Blood Moon, the mission briefing, the Nexus of Fate, and putting in an entirely different experiment. Alright, this looks great. So we're almost certainly going to fetch a tapped Steam Vents. And I think, do we Abrade the Vial? I think it slows down our opponent enough that it's worth it. Theoretically, if we draw a land by turn 4, our sequence can be something like Abrade on our turn 2, Gelectrode on turn 3, and then Snapcaster Abrade on turn 4. Nice, that's a land. I'm going to hold off on fetching for as long as possible, because if we can get a tapped Steam Vents, that would be great for if we draw Anger. I'm not sure how many opponents are going to expect the Gelectrode. I'm going to guess not many. Okay. Gelectrode looking pretty good against that. Dictate not so much. So if we don't draw a land next turn, I'm not sure what I want to fetch on this Misty Rainforest. Having access to double red is pretty important if we draw Anger of the Gods, but on the other hand, shocking ourselves is very much not free in this matchup. wonder if our opponent has Reflector Mage in their deck still. Double Supreme Phantasm. That's not good. Wow. That's a lot of damage. Isn't that thing a 1/1 normally? Okay. Jace is interesting. Don't think he's very good, but he's interesting. So we can't actually resolve a spell here through the Mausoleum Wanderer. We might be able to, but I don't think it's very likely. If we exhaustion our opponent, how likely are they to sacrifice the Mausoleum Wanderer? It could happen. I think that would be pretty good for us. It's very tough. So our options basically are exhaustion the opponent, Snapcaster, Abrade, Supreme Phantasm, and then Gelectrode it, or cast a Dictate. I don't really like casting a Dictate. We can resolve this Jace, but if we resolve the Jace, he's going to die. So that's not very good. Because of Mausoleum Wanderer here, meaning our Abrade won't resolve on this Supreme Phantasm, I'm kind of inclined to just exhaustion our opponent and try to bait them into spending the Mausoleum Wanderer. So I guess first things first, I'm going to kill this Hierarch. And then see if we can trick him. Let's always yes that. Oh, okay. Our opponent values their Mausoleum Wanderer. Makes sense to me. Card is pretty good. That's a lot of damage. We're at 9. We're going to 8 off this fetch, which we basically need to do. So we can get a guaranteed kill on the Mausoleum Wanderer by going Serum Visions, Snap Serum Visions. Except our opponent gets to counter our second Serum Visions, so that's not great. Another thing we can do is cast Snapcaster Mage and then Abrade a Supreme Phantasm. Our opponent is basically obligated to spend the Mausoleum Wanderer protecting it. But that means our Snapcaster is gone and we don't have Abrade either. I think I'm going to go with the Serum Visions line. So we're going to take down this Mausoleum Wanderer. Or maybe our opponent's just going to counter this first Serum Visions. It'd be neat. How good is Snapcaster Mage here? I guess we get Snapcaster Abrade, which in conjunction with Gelectrode can kill a Supreme Phantasm. So I guess we like that. Gigadrowse buys us some time and maybe will let us shoot down something small. This is kind of rough. The opponent also didn't play a land, so they have a bunch of spells in hand. I think I'm going to top. think we want spells. All right, I'm going to see if we can cast Serum Visions before I decide on a target for Gelectrode, in case our opponent has whatchamacallit, Surgical Extraction. Alright, so I'm going to cast this and then respond to the Gelectrode trigger by hitting Mausoleum Wanderer. Alright, and now if our opponent allows Serum Visions to resolve, we get to draw our card, which is great. And if they do not, we're going to spend Gelectrode killing Mausoleum Wanderer. Okay. No. The double Supreme Phantasm is a little rough, but Gelectrode does allow us to kill it with Abrade, which is really nice. Our life total is not very high. Man, that's really bad. Let's see, is there any way we win this game now? I don't think there is. Let's see. It would involve something really dumb, like our opponent blocking this Snapcaster Mage right now, so that we could ping it with Gelectrode. Opponent's too smart for that. Yeah, we are dead. We'll see if the opponent... Actually, there's nothing this can do, is there? We Abrade this thing. And then ping it. So even if our opponent allows this to resolve, we still can't kill the Mausoleum Wanderer because of the other stupid Supreme Phantasm. And either way, we are looking at basically lethal. Technically, this is only 3 if our opponent allows Supreme Phantasm to die. 1 on the Supreme Phantasm, 2 on the Mausoleum Wanderer, but any spirit would kill us, so we're basically dead. Alright, good game, opponent. Okay, here we are for match number 3, and we've won the die roll. Ooh, our opening hand is not very good. 5 lands, a Gigadrowse, and Exhaustion. It's not keepable, unfortunately. Got the 3 of a kind. We could use a red source, but gonna have to keep it. That's not a red source. Hopefully this Lightning Bolt is good and also castable. This Lightning Bolt is not good against Valakut. And hopefully these Dictates will be castable. Well, it would be pretty good if we could cast a... any spell, really. If we could cast a Blood Moon in this matchup. Not sure if the opponent would have anything mainboard to deal with it, but as it stands, I don't quite think that's going to happen. Yeah, we're in some amount of trouble. In terms of our experiment, this Nexus of Fate looking a lot worse than a Temporal Mastery. Temporal Mastery would have at least been draw a card. Nexus of Fate is sit in your hand while you die on maybe your opponent's turn 4. Oof, that's not a land either. think we're getting our scapes shifted. Five mana, that's interesting. Oh, just floating mana. All right. Let's try to draw better. I guess the good news is our opponent saw Island, Island, pass forever. So I'm not sure how well our opponent can sideboard based on that. Let's bring in Commandeer. Let's go ahead and experiment madly. So because we're bringing in Madcap Experiment, we need to bring out Howling Mine. I'm going to leave Blood Moon in. What isn't good? Lightning Bolt does nothing. Gigadrowse isn't great because our opponent ends up having more lands than we do. So just Gigadrowsing them after they've cast one or two ramp spells means they still get to cast a ramp spell. So I don't think that's where we want to be. And this looks pretty good to me. Yes, we'll go first. Well, we're here to experiment, right? We've got an awful lot of fetch lands that we won't be able to crack after casting this Madcap Experiment. So we're going to not play that Sulfur Falls. Also, given the land composition of our hand, we cannot keep our life total above. Ooh, that's neat. What was I saying? We can't keep our life total above 18. So might as well run these out anyway. Also now a very good idea for us to fetch basic islands. Steve means our opponent is gonna get a basic, but there's not really too much we can do about that. Mostly have to hope that our opponent doesn't have removal for our Blood Moon. And I guess if they do, that means they're a lot less likely to have removal for our experimental Platinum Emperion. Would be nice if we could draw a blue spell to get that Commandeer online. Okay. Guess that makes sense. Well, there's a blue spell. Well, we came here to experiment, so let's experiment. Guess I should have... I could have done this in such a way where we would still have Sulfur Falls in hand right now. I should have fetched for a tapped Steam Vents on our opponent's turn 2, and then fetched Island Island on our turn 3. And that way this Flooded Strand would instead be Sulfur Falls. As it stands, I feel a little bit silly, but hopefully we won't need that land. Opponent is dead in 2 hits, and we do have either Commandeer or Exhaustion, so I think something good is going to happen unless our opponent has another Destructive Revelry. Kind of surprises me that our opponent is playing specifically Destructive Revelry over something like Nature's Claim. Oh, that's neat. I think it's safer if we Exhaustion the opponent. I guess they could draw Destructive Revelry and then it's not great for us. Let's see, our opponent does not have a Search for Tomorrow on Suspend, which means they're going to 5 lands. So even if they cast a ramp spell and then cast Scapeshift, play a land up to 5 lands, Play a ramp spell up to 6 lands and then cast Scapeshift. Yeah, we still won't die. Alright, yeah, I mean, this is what we came here to do, right? So the other interesting thing is our opponent now believes that we are a Platinum Emperion Blood Moon deck, because that's all we've shown him. Do we have enough room in the sideboard to change our plan? I don't know. Magic Online, the most CPU intensive game in the history of PC gaming. All right, do we have enough to change our plan? Not quite. We would need to bring in 6 cards to bring out the Platinum Emperion package. Anger doesn't do anything, Abrade doesn't do anything, Gelectrode is too slow, Bolt doesn't do anything. Could bring in this thing in the ice. Can't bring that in. Not sure what to bring it in over. The rest of our cards are pretty decent. Mission Briefing also works pretty nicely with Thing in the Ice, which is cool. I'm going to take out 1 Snapcaster Mage just in case our opponent has Relic of Progenitus, which I think they normally do. It's a little bit surprising that we haven't seen it. Well, we came here to experiment, right? Our opponent cleverly playing around Blood Moon with their basic. We're probably going to play Tap Steam Vents next turn and then Scalding Tarn for Island the following turn. Okay. Search for Tomorrow coming off Suspend next turn. So there's the Tap Steam Vents. And again, we're going to want to spend our fetch lands before we cast Madcap Experiment. So next turn is going to be Scalding Tarn, crack for basic island, Dictate of Kruphix. Try to get our opponent to kill that instead of Platinum Emperion. Alternatively, we could just Exhaustion them on our turn 4 and then go for the warp. We'll see. I think it depends on exactly what our opponent does and exactly how much Magic Online decides to crash. Tireless Tracker. That's not a card I was expecting. Might need to restart Magic on now. Definitely need to look into exactly what's causing this problem. Okay, our opponent has a lot of clues. I think I'm still going with Scalding Tarn Dictate this turn. I'm just not 100% sure what we're going to want to do next turn, but I guess we'll see what the opponent does and figure it out. Opponent has 4 cards in hand, but a lot of opportunities to draw towards a naturalize effect. I think it might just be about time to restart Magic Online again. Let's see if we can make this have a picture by zooming in. Nope. Interesting, the opponent shocked himself. Okay, as predicted. All right, let's see if they spend a Naturalize on this. I suspect they will, but you never know. I didn't know. Maybe they're just doing it at upkeep. Or not. Given that we've drawn this Serum Visions, I kind of just want to Exhaustion the opponent, which also keeps them off Primeval Titan, which is convenient, and then also cast Serum Visions, and then the following turn we'll have Time Warp available. That sounds pretty good to me. Primeval Titan is particularly bad for us because the extra Valakuts means that the Platinum Emperion is in danger of getting triple bolted by Valakut. Okay, Snapcaster looking pretty bad in the face of that relic, so goodbye both of you. Okay, that was a pretty good draw. So arguably the best draw from this point is a Miracle Temporal Mastery, but when is that not true? Oh, that's annoying. Okay. What can we do from here? Well, since our opponent doesn't have any mana available, I'm going to try to take advantage of that and use Snapcaster while I can. And what that means is we're going to get our Scry on, and then Time Warp this turn, and then play a land, Snap Time Warp the following turn. Let's see, Dictate can go. I don't think we need the third Madcap Experiment. Like I said, I think I'll try to use Snapcaster while I can. All right, and now what do we have? Interesting. So Commandeer would be pretty good against Scapeshift, but we basically have no idea that's what our opponent's doing. It's also pretty okay against a Naturalize effect because it allows us to redirect the Naturalize at one of our opponent's artifacts, and our opponent will not have enough mana to destroy all of their artifacts. So let's see. I think we're gonna attack with Snapcaster. Yeah, Primeval Titan would be not great for us, but it's actually a little bit hard for our opponent to get mountains, so it's mostly a Scapeshift that we're worried about, and we've got that covered with Commandeer. So yeah, I think we're going to attack with Snapcaster and then cast the Experiment. All right. I think there's even an argument for not casting this Dictate just so that we have a blue card for Commandeer. I wonder if our opponent's regretting their decision to use that Destructive Revelry. Honestly, I think it was a good call at the time, but well, I think it's pretty easy for the opponent to doubt themselves. So basically one of the worst things for us is Primeval Titan because it ramps our opponent in a way that Commandeer is ineffective against. But the good news there is our opponent would be tapped out, so we'd get to Dictate and hopefully see something good. Also, our opponent's at kind of a surprisingly low life total. Tireless Tracker with millions of clues. Just oodles and oodles of clues. Okay, we need to take that. So interestingly, we could just sacrifice all of our lands and get a bunch of other lands to thin our deck. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think I will. Well, yeah, sure. They say deck thinning doesn't matter, but when it's this many cards, I think it matters. All right, do we get the fetch lands or no? Oh, obviously no. We have a Platinum Emperion. Okay, let's get Mikokoro. Let's get some number of basics in case we draw Blood Moon. Let's get Steam Vents, Sulfur Falls. Cascade Bluffs is fine. I guess we just want islands, huh? For that Blood Moon. Neat. Okay. Let's do the time warp again. Ooh, neat. I think that's lethal. Yay. Finally got a win. See you for the next round. All right, here we are for match number 4. This hand is very questionable. It's got one land, a Serum Visions, a Blood Moon, and some other garbage. I don't think this is a very good keep, but we came here to cast Game 1 Blood Moons, right? We're also on the draw, so we are more likely to draw lands than if we were on the play. Or rather, we have one more card to draw a land. Sleight of hand. So opponent is probably on Storm. Opponent probably thinks that we're on Storm. This Blood Moon is not looking very good, but we do need lands. That Time Warp not looking very good. Yeah, this one's going to be a little bit rough. Spire Bluff Canal. Our opponent certainly on Storm. Seems like Magic Online might need a... Ooh, interesting. Pyromancer Ascension Storm. That's crazy. Alright, well we don't really have that many plays. We could Gigadrowse, but that's not really accomplishing much of anything. So we really don't have any follow-ups. We could like Gigadrowse and then Exhaustion, and then our hand just doesn't do anything. So this was probably not the greatest of keeps, but we were hoping for Blood Moon to be good, and it's not looking like that's going to be the case. Maybe cutting our opponent off of some blue mana will do something, but I have my doubts. Can't quite tell how much of this is our opponent taking a while thinking on the scry and how much of this is my Magic Online client lagging. So what are our best draws? I think our best draw would be Temporal Mastery into land, so that we could have 4 lands, and then I'm not really sure exactly what we would do from there, but I think that's the best we got. Yeah, alright. I guess we're just gonna get a tapped Steam Vent and slam this Blood Moon. No, let's not pay life. And yeah, let's just look like a nice standard Blue Moon deck here. I don't think this is getting countered. Alright, cutting our opponent off blue might actually do something. So Ascension currently has 1 counter. The way this works is whenever you cast an instant or sorcery with the same name, it gets a counter. Once it already has 2 counters on it, once you cast any instant or sorcery, you get to copy it. So basically things only go bad after the opponent casts another Serum Visions or Sleight of Hand. Or if the opponent goes like double Manamorphose, then we're in trouble. I'd be kind of surprised if they did that though, because they had 2 mana last turn. Yeah, 2 cards going to the bottom. I don't think their hand is very good. Cryptic Command that we cannot cast. Nice little combination of cards right there. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to Serum Visions, and if we draw an island, we could tap our opponent's island to keep the Pyromancer Ascension off of 2 counters, because our opponent won't have their blue source. Alternatively, we could just Gigadrowse or just Exhaustion. I think I would rather get a clock on board. So yeah, I think we're going to Snapcaster Serum Visions first and then try really hard to draw a basic island. It's not it. The good news is that this Cascade Bluffs will allow us to start time warping. We don't actually have much going on. Mikokoro is, remember, just a mountain. Nice little combination here. But we are getting in for damage, so it is doing more than nothing to time warp, and more than nothing is good enough for me. Did I not play the land? Oh my god. Well, that's unfortunate. The good news is we still have Gigadrowse and Exhaustion. The bad news is I'm a huge idiot. So at least it's good for us that our opponent is pinched on blue mana. So that's cool. Yeah, this Blood Moon actually seems to be hurting us some reasonable amount in that Gigadrowse is hard to cast. Mikokoro doesn't really activate. Opponent still gets to use their red mana for stuff and things. Oh, interesting. What's going on? Ritual. Uh-oh. Okay, now I think the opponent's going off. So it wouldn't really have mattered if we Gigadrowsed. Definitely mattered to play land, though. I think we're getting our shot scraped eventually. We can't interact. I'm just going to F6. I'm interested in seeing exactly what our opponent has in their deck. I feel like this could just be a pretty normal Storm deck with Pyromancer Ascension. At first I thought it was one of those Thing in the Ice Pyromancer Ascension decks, but I don't think those usually run that many rituals. It's kind of interesting. I haven't seen a Storm Pyromancer Ascension deck in quite some time. It's kind of fallen out of favor ever since Brawl got printed, I think. Alright, and either our opponent's thinking really hard or Magic Online is lagging really hard. Alright, there we go. I think we're dead. Let's see. Yeah, our opponent has buttloads of mana. I think we put this and this in the graveyard. That gives us our opponent the least amount of mana, but our opponent still has another Gifts Ungiven, so they probably just find, I don't know, Ritual, Manamorphose, anything. I do want to see how they kill us. It's probably going to be Grape Shot, but maybe our opponent only has Empty the Warrens or something else weird. Who knows? They're running Pyromancer Ascension. It could be anything. Alright, looks like we are going to die to Grape Shot. I don't think we need to make the opponent play this out. Okay, that Blood Moon would have been pretty nice as a Commandeer, I think. Goodness gracious. I'm going to restart my Magic Online client one more time. Sorry about that. Alright, and we're back for sideboarding. Sorry for all the technical difficulties, everyone. So we definitely want Commandeer. Surgical Extraction is great. It's unclear to me if our opponent has that many cost reducers. I'm going to imagine they do, and I'm also going to imagine our opponent has Empty the Warrens. So I think Anger is good. I'm not sure if Abrade is good. Thing in the Ice is pretty good against Empty the Warrens. Do we want the Madcap Emperion package? To be honest, I don't think it's good here either, because our opponent can Grape Shot, stacking the bottom ones targeting us and the top ones targeting Platinum Emperion. But we didn't come here not to experiment. Alright, we only have a few seconds for getting cards out, so we need to take Howling Mine out because we have Madcap Experiment. Take out some number of Dictates, take out some number of Warps. I don't think Gigadrowse is especially good because our opponent can just go off the following turn. Exhaustion I also don't think is very good because our opponent doesn't tap out that often. Gonna trim one mission briefing. Guess I should take these cards over here. A little bit more. All right, I only have a few seconds. I'm gonna just submit like that. See how it goes. Yes, we will play first. This hand is definitely not great. We don't actually interact until turn 4, but we get a lot of looks at extra cards with Serum Visions and then turn 3 Snapcaster Serum Visions, so even though the hand's pretty medium, still gonna keep it. Opponent's mulling to 6, so we've got a shot. So you're saying there's a chance. Do you want one land? Should it be fetch land or should it be a land that doesn't hurt us? Fetch land is nice if we draw any other land so that we can Jace and then fetch land stuff away. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna bottom this Sulfur Falls, top this turn. Next turn we're probably going to Steam Vents. Next turn, Cascade Bluffs, Snapcaster, Serum Visions. Hopefully we won't be dead by then. And we get a lot of shots to draw another land for Jace where we can Scalding Tarn for turn 5. Alright, that's not good for us. Surgical Extraction also not especially good against Pyromancer or Ascenscion, just because there's no intervening if clause, which means if you wait until your opponent casts a spell and then you surgical that spell, it still gets the counter. This Anger and this Lightning Bolt, these are only, well, Anger is only good if our opponent empties the Warrens, which we have no idea if they're going to do or not. Lightning Bolt is only really good if our opponent has 2 mana dorks because of, or 2 mana reducers because of the Lightning Bolt in our hand, so I'm going to bottom both of these. I think, unfortunately, instead of casting Jace or Serum Visions, we're going to have to hold up Cryptic Command. We can potentially counter and then, oh, or we might just die. Oh boy. Alright, well, I don't think we can let Brawl live, and I think Pyromancer Ascension is not quite going to come online just yet, so hopefully this will work. Oh, well, that's no good. Now I'm really regretting bottoming that Lightning Bolt. I guess we try to Serum Visions, get a Lightning Bolt. I guess the good news is our opponent only has 3 cards in hand. Ooh, so close. Platinum Emperion we don't want. Lightning Bolt to the top. So our opponent's drawing up to 4 cards. I'm not sure how likely it is that these are 4 cards that kill us. I guess we'll find out. Alright, let's see. This is Brawl, which is going to the graveyard. Desperate Ritual, Grape Shot, Dispel. It's Desperate Ritual, Grape Shot. Yep. Okay, so opponent just used Sleight of Hand, so opponent has Dispel in hand. Well, I guess that's good to know about. So we know that our opponent has a Dispel in hand and they're tapped out. So I think I want to cast this Cryptic Command while I still have the chance. Also the Lightning Bolt. So I guess what that means is Bolt Baral, bounce Ascension, and draw a card. I think that puts us in the best position. All right, and then for this one, we want return target permanent to its owner's hand, draw a card. That's target permanent. All right, get in there, Snapcaster Mage. So I'm not sure how likely it is that we die this turn or the following turn. Basically, my uncertainty is, should we try to cast Jace or Dictate before time warping, or should we just try to draw a card and just try to get more interaction? Because if we're just trying to go for the more interaction avenue, then time warping into Jace zeroing will dig us, what, 4 cards deep? 4 additional cards after the card that we draw for turn, and then the time warp turn, and then 3 more for Jace. Well, the timer's ticking down, so I think this is our opponent thinking and not just Moto lagging. I'm not sure if we're going to have a good opportunity to cast either the Dictate or the Jace and then start time warping. So I'm kind of inclined to just cast the time warp and then try to draw something reasonably interactive. Jace does give us a lot of looks, so that's a pretty big plus. Our opponent apparently has the world's most difficult Serum Visions decision. I'm not sure at what point in real life I would ask my opponent to play quicker or, call a judge to watch for slow play, but certainly would have been at some point. This took 2 minutes. Okay, there's Ascension. Given the sheer size of our opponent's graveyard, I do think it's possible. Let's see, that was a Spire Bluff Canal. I do think it's possible that our opponent loads up the Ascension and then kills us next turn. And I think that's why I'd like to. Alright, I think that's why I'd like to try to be interactive. So I guess let's time warp. And play the Steam Events tap so don't forget. And then get in there with Snapcaster Mage. That's unfortunate. Really don't have many avenues of interaction here, so I guess it's just time to Jace 0, see what we hit. One alternative is we could have bounced Snapcaster. Ooh, Exhaustion, that's nice. Don't think this anger is really doing much right now. And I don't think we need another land. Yeah, Exhaustion is just what the doctor ordered. And now, if our opponent doesn't have any way to interact, we can potentially bounce Snapcaster Mage and then Snapcaster Time Warp, Alternatively, we could just Madcap Experiment and Dictate. Again, we could still die to that if our opponent just has a lot of grape shots. Ooh. Snapcaster Time Warp sounds pretty nice. I'm going to do that first, just in case our opponent has like Surgical Extraction or Spell Pierce or something. Well, I guess Spell Pierce doesn't really... This doesn't really play around Spell Pierce, but it better informs our Jace decision if we know whether or not we're taking another turn. Looks like we are taking another turn. All right, we're going to Jace in the second main phase. Yeah, I don't think we have quite enough cards in hand. Surgical's nice. Don't think we've played a land this turn, so we could... I don't think Surgical's actually doing anything. Could play the land Serum Visions with Madcap Experiment in hand. I guess Madcap is probably better than Dictator Surgical here. It is kind of a really fast clock. The opponent's at 10. Really puts the onus on them to do something. I think this Gigadrowse might actually be very good. We can cast Madcap Experiment for 4 and then Gigadrowse for 5, which covers our opponent's lands. That's cool. I guess the better thing, of course, would be to just take another turn, but can't always do that. Definitely going to use this Misty Rainforest if we are casting Madcap Experiment. Make sure we've got our opponent's upkeep stop set. It'd be nice if our opponent cracked that fetch land. You know you want to do it. Come on. All right. Well... Oh shoot, do we have another time warp in here? We did not. All right, the thing I was just thinking about is we could have potentially Jace minus Snapcaster Mage to flash something back. I guess Exhaustion is actually really good. We probably should have done that instead of Gigadrowse, now that I'm thinking about it, but oh well. Too late now. Just given the fact that our opponent didn't stop us from Snapcaster warping, I think it means that or our gifts being ungiven. What's happening? Our opponent's going to allow us to target. How gracious. Targeting all different lands. And we'll F6, opponent, take it away. This is a little bit confusing. Where's the best place for all this? Yeah, I think I probably should have bounced to Snapcaster and cast an Exhaustion. What just happened? Cast Dispel. Ah, okay. Our opponent fetched, so one of their lands is untapped, and then cast Dispel, so another one of their lands is untapped. Good play. We could die. I don't think it's especially likely, given that our opponent has 5 cards in hand and only 2 lands untapped, but I can definitely imagine something like Brawl into land. Oh, okay. Or just get some counters on the Ascension and then I guess we die. Although if our opponent goes for like an Empty the Warrens, we just Cryptic and tap the team and then go in for lethal. So our opponent really needs Grape Shot in order to kill us here. Which opponent only has 3. Oh, opponent has Past in Flames. All right. Yeah, we're pretty dead here. Let's see. Metamorphose, smell the Grape Shot. Yeah, I should have thought of that Dispel. So I suppose the Exhaustion line is weaker to Lightning Bolt because if our opponent Lightning Bolts a Snapcaster Mage in response to the Jace bounce, then we're a little bit screwed. We're out of Jace activation and we lost a Snapcaster Mage. But given that the opponent wasn't bolting our Snapcaster Mages, I think it's pretty safe to assume that they didn't have it. 15 red mana. Oh yeah, there's a Grape Shot in there. We'll see if the opponent stacks it correctly. It's not trivial. I guess also just Cryptic Command bouncing the Pyromancer Ascension would have been pretty good. What do we have here? Oh yeah, we're dead. All right, good game, opponent. Well, unfortunately, we're not prizing this league, but I'll see you for the last match. All right, here we are for match number 5. We are on the draw. This hand is very marginal. We're going to need another land before we can snap Serum Visions. I feel like the Serum Visions is going to make this hand keepable, but it's very close. We both need another land before we can snap Serum Visions, and we want to eventually hit a Dictate, or a Jace, or a Howling Mine. So we kind of have a lot of things we want. Right, it looks like we're playing against Dredge. Lightning Bolt is not one of the things we wanted. I wonder if our opponent is going to target us if we top. Well, we do need at least one land. And of course, our draw was Temporal Mastery. We do need at least one land. Our opponent didn't hit any dredgers, so I guess we assume the opponent is going to have bad luck and miss dredgers one more time. Also, we can see if we trick the opponent into targeting us because we topped. Alright, no, we couldn't trick him. But the opponent did miss on dredgers. I guess let's make this a little bigger. Bloodghast is the current relevant card. And I don't think they're going to miss on dredgers from this one. Prized Amalgam, Dakmor Salvage. Well, alright, this isn't too bad. I wasn't expecting us to need this Lightning Bolt next turn. So I kind of regret the order that I put this in. I was originally planning to just tap Steam Vents, but actually I think we want to kill Prized Amalgam, so I think we're taking 2 here. Narcomoeba and another Amalgam. That's not good. Let's see, Dredge from Dakmor Salvage was Conflagrate, Faithless Looting. Boy, this is not good for us. It's Temporal Mastery looking awfully terrible. Alright, so if we hit the Prized Amalgam now, it'll come back at our end step because the opponent's Amalgam comes back at their end step. This Amalgam, which would be in the graveyard, would trigger, and then it would come back at the next end step, which is ours. It's still fine. We want to save some life. Yeah, it's mainly that it's very likely our opponent would have... Oh my god, that's a lot of Amalgams. Let's see. 9, 10, 11, 12. Opponent has... Loam is the 4th card, goes up to 6 cards. Let's see. I guess Loam up to 6 cards, play a land down to 5 cards, Conflagrate for 5. So 9, 10, 11, 12... we're dead. Bummer. Alright, well, let's hope the opponent doesn't see it. Actually. Shoot, I just noticed. We have a block and... Alright, we're not dead. Forgot Snapcaster Mage can do cool things, like Bolt and Amalgam, maybe. So we might not be dead, but we're not very close to alive because we don't really have anything going on right now. Golgari Thug, that's not good. Opponent did dredge life from the Loam, so we are going to want to fetch a basic here and then cast Snapcaster Mage. Get out of the way, opponent's graveyard. Fetch a basic here. Cast a Snapcaster Mage. And we're just going to try to survive the best we can. So that's going to involve targeting Bolt, chumping, bolting. So now we're taking 4, 5, 6, going to 9, so we don't die to Conflagrate, which is great. And instead, our opponent flashes back a Faithless. They're probably going to dredge Thug and maybe some other stuff. Stinkweed Imp. Let's see, we've got a Dark Blast. We've got 2 Bloodghasts. Yep. Of course, discarding those 2 cards. Our opponent has 3 cards in hand. Oh boy. So we are going to have to, beginning of combat, Cryptic Command for tap the opponent's team, draw a card. And then we're going to have to cycle a bunch of Time Warps and get absurdly lucky somehow. Not sure exactly how yet, but we'll figure it out. Alright, probably dredging this Stinkweed Imp. Yep, hit another Stinkweed. Okay, beginning of combat. Let's tap draw. Alright, I think that's step 1 to getting really lucky. Step 2 is miracling Temporal Mastery. So if we could miracle Temporal Mastery on our next turn, I actually think we would probably win because of these double time warps drawing us a bunch of cards. Alright, yeah, opponent's gonna set up a giant Conflagrate. Currently 6, which would put us to 3. So we were actually dead to Creeping Chill here, which is... I mean, we're dead in a lot of ways, but... Okay, our opponent just empties their hand, I guess, to make us dead to Creeping Chill, which makes sense. Okay, that was among our worst draws. Okay. That is not a miracle Temporal Mastery. Yeah, our opponent only has 23 cards left in their library. I'm very surprised that we didn't see a whatchamacallit yet. Okay. So our opponent has another Conflagrate and Life from the Loam. So I think our only hope is that they dredge Stinkweed Imp and then miss really badly. And then we Mission Briefing, cast Cryptic Command, command them. The alternative option here is cast Mission Briefing, be really lucky, get Exhaustion, and Exhaustion our opponent, but I think it's much better to just go with the Cryptic Command that we know about. Alright, what are they dredging? Oh, that's Creeping Chill. Okay. Alright. And we die. So I don't think Blood Moon was very good. I think there's a pretty good chance that our opponent brings in some kind of artifact or enchantment hate, but I still think we got to try this. Let's see, Thing in the Ice is pretty good when it bounces stuff. Commandeer is great when it takes a Cathartic Reunion. Anger of the Gods is great when you hit Prized Amalgams, and Surgical is just great. Okay, now for cards to take out. Lightning Bolt, pretty terrible. I think we're not on the part plan. Dictates are also pretty bad when your opponent gets to dredge instead of normal drawing. 3 more cards, we'll take out 1 more warp. And Jace is pretty bad when he's getting swarmed by your opponent's massive undead army. Alright, let's try it like that. Yes, we're going first. Okay, this hand is garbage. And now we have a no-lander. That's unfortunate. Yeah, not only a no-lander, but a no-lander with a Platinum Emperion in it. There are many reasons this hand isn't good. All right, our opponent's kept 7. We are not looking very good. Okay, we do have Commandeer. If our opponent is keeping just because of Cathartic Reunion, we have a chance. So let's keep this. Oh, we're so far away from casting that. I don't think we can top that in good conscience. All right, we do need lands. So I guess top the Tarn first and then this thing so that we get the most, or so that if we, there's no reason we would need we would need to crack the Tarn, but whatever. All right, there we go. I was going to say there seems to be an unfortunate theme of unnecessary pauses. Definitely not a fan. Okay. Conflagrate you go. All right, now we're both representing spells and actually going to Commandeer a Cathartic Reunion if our opponent casts one. Do it, opponent. You know you want to. Do it. I think it's happening. Ooh, it's not happening. Stinkweed Imp, double prized amalgam. Well, we could take this and hit the opponent for 3, but that's not anywhere close to worth it, so. So this is kind of rough. I think one of our best chances of getting back into this game involves surgical extraction. So the way that's going to happen is we're going to play the Scalding Tarn, crack and shock, mission briefing with the fallback plan of Serum Visions, but really try to hit a surgical extraction so that we can surgical that Stinkweed Imp, and then these prized amalgams are just dead in the water. And the reason we're cracking first, again, is so that we retain the Surveil. It kind of sucks that we're going to hurt ourselves, but we need red mana in case we end up drawing Anger of the Gods. It's going to be really important that we can cast that one. Yeah, this is actually a lot of pain. Wow, we're going to 14, and if we hit surgical, we can't quite cast that Anger. We can't quite cast that Anger, but we kind of want to draw it. I think our plan is to graveyard the snow-covered island, top the Anger, so that when the prized amalgams come back, we can hopefully draw a red source off that Serum Visions and then Anger to get them out of this game. Those are not it. Exhaustion would buy us some time, but it's just not worth it. All right, let's see what our opponent dredges. That's not good. Stinky and Bloodghast, and also Life from the Loam and Dakmor Salvage. That was a good dredge. Holy moly. And that is a good card. I don't really like our chances here. Yeah, not really liking our chances. Uh-oh, there's more. is our opponent casting? There's 2 cards in hand. Oh, right. They just dredged that. All right, we really need a red source. Show me a red source. That's not it. It's almost it. That's not it. And these are not it either. Goodness gracious. This is rough. Certainly unfortunate that we haven't seen a red source in the past, like, 7 cards or whatever. Alright, dredging Stinkweed Imp. Revealing Narcomoeba. Alright, so we might need to Gigadrowse just to stay alive. Let's see, 6, 7, 8. We're at 11, so that's 3. Oh. Yeah, I think we're going to take that, and I think we're going to Gigadrowse the team to try to stay alive. Opponent has used 1 Creeping Chill so far, which means if we could stay above 9, that would be really nice, but actually we can't because we can only tap the 2 Amalgams. But we definitely want to take that one. Opponent probably reading Commandeer for the first time. So I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, but because Cathartic Reunion has discarding cards as a cost, the opponent keeps those cards in the graveyard, and then we just get to straight up draw 3 cards, and we don't have to discard anything. So I don't actually know if it would be. There's the red source. All right. Let's try very hard to stay alive. This one taps that one. So I don't think it makes sense to go after our opponent's dredgers with this surgical because there's so many different ones. Stinkweed, Life from the Loam, and Golgari Thug. Let's see. There is a Conflagrate, so that's something we need to be extremely aware of. I'm going to set a draw step stop. I guess actually we're not going to have any mana left over because we really need to do this Anger of the Gods. So the reason to set the draw step stop is to see what the opponent dredges and then potentially Gigadrowse, or actually we have Surgical Extraction. If the opponent dredges Life from the Loam, we want to strongly consider Surgicaling Conflagrate so that the opponent can't do a big Conflagrate at us. We are at 9. It's very low life total. Let's see. On the other hand, we've got these Bloodghasts. Let's see. We exiled 1 Bloodghast, which means if the opponent gets these Bloodghasts back, we can just Anger. I guess the worst thing would be if our opponent plays a fetch land, they can bring them back at end step, and then we won't be able to Anger. We could Gigadrowse. I guess in response to the crack, we could Surgical. Yeah, I'm not going to Surgical these Bloodghasts. Nor am I Surgicaling the Conflagrate because the opponent doesn't have many cards. It would be very nice if the opponent finds No, those are still those 2 Bloodghast. If our opponent finds their last Bloodghast, brings it back, and then we get to anger it. I'd be very happy about that one. Let's see here. Dredge Life from the Loam. Let's see, 2 Bloodghast still, and an Archamoeba. Oh man, I forgot those have haste. Shoot. Yeah, unfortunately we are going to need to save our surgical for Creeping Chill or Conflagrate. Probably Conflagrate at this rate. Alright. I'm not sure if we get out of this one. Especially not if we draw like that. Well, we do need to do this. Now, I believe at draw step, we are probably going to surgical our opponent's Conflagrate. I assume they're getting life from the loam. Let's see. Okay. Puts the ability from Creeping Chill onto the stack. Alright, they've got us covered. This Ancient Grudge also would kill a Platinum Emperion, so even if we did get Madcap Experiment last turn, we would be dead. So even if we Conflagrate Creeping Chill, we go to 3, and then the opponent... Sorry, if we Surgical Extraction Creeping Chill, we go to 3, and then the opponent just Conflagrates us for lethal. On the other hand, if we let the Creeping Chill happen, we go to 2, we can't Surgical, and then we get Conflagrated. Alright, that's unfortunate. Well, it was a fun experiment, but not a very successful one at 1 and 4. I definitely learned something, and I hope you learned something too. I'll see you for the next video.